Today's video is going to be more of a mindset video because I see a lot of people who are complaining about the city that they're living in, the country that they're living in. They constantly make these statements like, only if I would have the freedom to move to a different place, I would just leave everything and I would go to that place. I would go to that place. But the problem comes for the people who don't even say that. For the people who just constantly bitch and moan. And this is a horrible kind of attitude and impression to put on other people. What do I mean by this? Every single country has its problem. India has its problems, Germany has its problem, US has its problem, Canada, and so on. There's going to be a person who is going to be very happy in India. There's going to be a person who is going to be very happy in Canada. There's going to be a person who is going to be very happy in Germany, and so on. But at the same time, different countries are going to give you different kind of platforms, different kind of surroundings to be successful in a specific field. If I look back and take a look at my childhood, I take a look at my schooling, I really think being in India, even though as harsh as it was with the entire coaching system, things like that, I think being in India till the age of 10th, even 11th and 12th, I would say, if it would be just the school itself and maybe some coaching on the side, it was not that horrible because it builds up your level. Right, like if you would compare your maths as an Indian and your English as an Indian with most of the other people in the world, right? Your maths is going to be better, your physics is going to be better, your chemistry is going to be better, and your English is going to be better than most of the other people who are not speaking English as their mother tongue or as their first language, whatever. Right. So this is something which is very important to understand that, for example, in India, if we were able to do our schooling, that was not a bad option at all because we learned a lot more. We learned a lot more things. This was the funny thing when I started my studies in Germany, that I was seeing people like using calculator for simple calculations, whereas you as an Indian would be making those calculations either in your brain or just would make a cross at the bottom and just quickly make the calculation and you would arrive at the final result. People do not function like that here. Then comes the second part, which is the entrance examinations, which I personally find horrible and which I see very critically because of the entire quota system, the entire reservation system, and so on. And of course, there are always, every single time under the videos, people who support it. What I say is that if somebody who is in SC, ST or reserved category, whatever, their father is a banker, their father is in police at a nice position, they are having no problems of money whatsoever. And if you believe giving that person reservation is going to uplift the society further, you are really missing out on the people who are in reserved category, who are living in villages, who are not having great income, their parents are not making so much money. If you are taking the chance from those people and you are again putting these same people who are already in a great economic condition again up, that makes no sense to me. I would not be willing to give my seat away for these people who are already at a good position, who just do not have to work that hard, whose merit is generally low, who are then ending up not becoming smart politicians, smart engineers, smart whatever, doctors, and so on, just because you are already feeding somebody who was lazy enough not to prepare hard and not to come to a good rank, and they just got to that particular university, that particular program, whatever, just because they were born in that category. I find that very stupid. What would be smarter is if it's somebody from a reserved category who actually needs it, the income is actually low, they were living in some kind of village, there were no opportunity of coaching and so on. I would rather see them study with me than somebody who already had all the benefits of life, all the luxuries of life, because I think you can also talk about it from your anecdotal experience that there were so many people from the reserved category also in our universities who were just changing phones every second or third month. And their parents are making crazy amount of money. They'd be dressing in the best clothes whatsoever. And only if somebody else would tell, you would know that, okay, they're from the reserved category. But then you'd be like, okay, they really don't look like that. What do I mean by look like that? That they do not look like that they would need the help. They do not look like that they would need somebody else's seat who would be more deserving at this place. And whereas in my general category, I belong from the Jat community. So in Jat, I would still have sons of farmers who would be in the general category, who would not think about going to a specific trip, eat outside with us, whatever, because they'd be like, okay, this is going to burn a lot of money and I don't have that money. Who would just have 2 clothes in their closet and they're going to be switching between these 2 for the rest of the semester. So these kind of things I don't understand, and that's the place where I start having like problems with the Indian reservation system, with the Indian education system, and it starts from the entrance examinations already, right? And then you have the system of like, exam preparations, the government exam preparations and so on, which becomes an industry of its own, where there are people who are in these coaching institutes and these tuitions who are saying, if you don't clear IIT, if you don't clear IAS, IES, whatever, you will always be a rejected commodity. I don't understand it. Like, why? Why will it be a rejected commodity? Because you are telling us that we are going to be a rejected commodity. So this kind of propaganda you have to understand. Of course, I did not study in an IIT or an NIT. I had the rank of 43434, and it was 12 lakh people at that time. So again, not the best rank, not the worst rank, somewhere, like it's not even in the middle, like somewhere in the like top 5-10%, whatever. So when I think about this, like this was something which I actually did not like at all. That I had to choose a program, I had to choose a university which would have not been my first choice just because I was in a specific category. If there would be no reservation, it would be completely on the basis of merit, the story would be different. But then comes the story again about the bachelors. In the bachelors, if you would also see, like the teaching standards are actually very, very different in India versus when you compare it in Europe. And anybody who is studying bachelors in Germany or in other country can attest to that. Things are very different when you study a master's in Germany versus when you study masters in India. Because many times I had some friends who were doing these distance learning masters and so on. Not distance learning, non-attending masters. Like what kind of scam? And in Germany, I see how much focus they are putting when you're studying your masters on presentations, that you're able to build your skill of presenting in front of other people, that you can understand how to write texts, you can understand how to make sensible arguments, that you can understand how to make nice slides, nice presentations, and so on. And all of these things are super important for everything else. Now, if you think about Germany, Germany is a very nice place to start with after your schooling, because you are having free education. You are building yourself up in many different areas that you did not get the opportunity for in India. And you're just having so much opportunities to explore, right? Like you can see what kind of habits or like hobbies you want to have, what kind of countries you want to visit, what kind of places you want to go to, and all of that at still a pretty like decent price, because even though education is free, you're still having the living costs, right? Like you still have to live, you still have to eat, and so on. That's why I personally find Germany really nice. And Germany I also find nice for people who are, for example, starting out in the job. Because when people complain about Germany, right, I don't understand, like if you are like living in Germany, you're working in Germany, and you really hate Germany, I think it makes sense for you to, again, not bitch and moan and go to the place where you would feel happy. It is very important. Look, in every single instance of your life, you're not going to have the same country fulfilling all the purposes for you all the time. And these changes throughout your life. Sometimes you're happy with this, sometimes you're happy with this, your priorities change, what makes you happy changes. So all of these things are very important to remember, because in Germany, of course, if you're living here, you're paying a lot of taxes that everybody knows about. And the benefit is that you're not having any kind of toll tax in Germany. Do you remember in India how many times you have to pay toll tax just to go on specific roads? There is not a single toll tax in Germany. None of which I have come across. I have come across them in every single country outside Germany, even in Europe, but not in Germany, because the this tax is already included in the petrol prices. Then second thing, the health insurance. Anytime you have any kind of problem whatsoever, you don't have to think how much you will have to pay from your own pocket to visit the doctor or to have the surgery. I had kidney stones and it was a very painful experience. I really wish that doesn't come again. I'm drinking a lot of water and so on, so to try for it not to come again, but who knows. 5:30 in the morning, I wake up and I'm like, Alina, I'm having a lot of pain. I don't know what's going on. So I start puking, and Alina calls her grandma because she also doesn't understand what's going on. And Alina's grandma is like,
yeah, maybe he's having a heart attack.
so Alina is like freaking out completely. So I'm like, I don't know like what's going on. So I'm like puking every 30 minutes, like it's just extreme pain, and like there is no way for the body to cope up with the pain than to puke. Alina calls, like I think in 15-20 minutes, like she called then the ambulance. Ambulance came, they took me to the hospital. They put the drips, whatever they had to, and then they were like, okay, like, you know, it's most probably like a kidney stone with the this CT scan and everything that they did, ultrasound and so on. And they were like, yeah, like must be a kidney stone, which is already passed out now, because I was not feeling pain after a while. But then afterwards, we were like, okay, like nice. So we went to a bakery, we started eating a lot of, I ate, I think 2 sandwiches. I was like so happy that this is gone. But turns out the kidney stone was indeed not gone. So I had multiple kidney stones, and as soon as we reached home, everything came out in the toilet. And the entire cycle started again. This time we called a taxi or something, like we went to the hospital. And we said like, you know, this and this is the problem. And then afterwards they did the entire thing, like the CT scan and everything. And then it turned out like there were multiple stones and stuff. For all of this drama of going to hospital multiple times, whatever, only thing that I paid was my health insurance as a student, which was around 106 euros or something at that time. And so that was like the premium you're paying every single month. And 10 euros I paid for the ambulance drive. That's it. So if you think about this, like, you know, just think how many problems get worse and worse and worse just because you're worried that you have to go to the hospital and you would have to pay a lot of money there. Whereas you don't have the system of this in Germany. Also, you can take 2 years off when you are having a new child in the family and so on. So there are a lot of benefits, but of course, the con of that is that you're going to have higher taxes. Like there's going to be state who is going to take care of you in a lot of situations, you're getting fired from the job, things like that. So of course you have to remember this, and this is more like a message for the people who are like living in Germany and they don't like Germany and they don't want to live in Germany. I would really recommend that just the way you push yourself to go from India to Germany when the situation was not suiting you, I think it is very important for you to, like, you know, rethink it and think like maybe if like India or whatever the other country might not be a better place for you if you're so unhappy with Germany. And this is something that goes in with every situation in life, right? Because if Germany is great for students and employees who are not making a lot of money, let's say like under 10,000 euros per month, I think like Germany is still a pretty nice offer. Under 7,000 euros, I would say. It's still a nice place to live in. If you start earning above 10,000 euros, then of course you have to start finding other place. If you're having a business, then again, Germany is not a nice place. On my other business channel, Brand Device, I was speaking about like how Germany is absolutely horrible to have your own business. And that's why I registered my business in Romania. We started a company there. We bought over 7 real estate there because we found the business environment so much more interesting there. But for private life, we really like Denmark because Denmark is pretty safe. And then afterwards, when it comes to the feeling of being at home, we really miss Germany because that is the only country where we can understand the language, where we understand the culture, where we still have so much support from the government that you think, okay, if something goes wrong in life, there would still be the government supporting you in one way or the other. So just think about this. Look, you should never be the person who is complaining about something all the time. Complaining about it once, twice, whatever, I can understand. But above complaining, it is more important to do something about it. If you're complaining about something in your life, you know that you're not doing something right. You're in the wrong place, you're in the wrong surroundings, you're with the wrong people, you're doing the wrong thing, whatever. And when you realize, there should be a click in your mind and it says, okay, I realize I'm complaining. That means I have to do something about it. That's what I did when I was in India. That's what I did when we went to Denmark. That's what I did when I was in Germany. And that is what exactly you should do, no matter what kind of country you're in, what kind of place you're living in. That's a very important message for you to remember, because complaining is the worst thing you can do, because of course nobody else cares. Nobody else cares about your complaints. You just have to find solutions to things. Look, most of us are engineers. What is the most important task of an engineer? The most important task of an engineer is to find a solution to a problem, and you're given specific constraints that you cannot do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. This is the maximum tax you can pay. This is the maximum time you can stay in a place. This is the maximum, free tax you can have on dividend income and so on. When you have all of these different kind of constraints, you have one problem, As an engineer, your responsibility is to find a solution to those problems. I do not want you to forget that at all. As an engineer, your most important job is to find solutions and not to complain about things which are happening in life. If you're complaining about things which are happening in life, you would have been much better in sociology or whatever kind of like gender studies, these kind of fields, than being an engineer. You're an engineer, be proud of yourself. You're a smart person. If you're complaining, if you're finding problems somewhere, find a solution to that. And this is just what I wanted to tell you in this video. I hope this helps. If you have any kind of questions, doubts, problems, whatever you want to discuss, write it down in the comments. If you don't want to write it publicly, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'll see you there.